it's coming through the corn, but it's above the corn. And I'm not saying it's floating above the corn, but the size of it, it was like it was gliding through the corn. There was no...
Oh, wow.
Saw it twice, so I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up,
Yeah.
like a headlight, but there was nobody there.
You can't deny, can you, when you're seeing something, and how many people, say in that particular area, see something. There's definitely something going on then, isn't there?
Oh, it's just disappeared.
Hello everybody, welcome to Truth Proof, and a bit of a special today for everyone because I'm talking to a man who first told me about a strange experience that he had with his partner back in 2022. And once again, we're going to be revisiting the area of Bempton and Speeton. And rather than me ramble on about this, I'm going to bring Gaz on. He's going to talk about the experience, and let's just see where we go with that. So hope you enjoy. Thank you. Hello, Gaz. How are you doing?
Hello, Paul. You okay?
I'm great, thanks, mate. And thank you for agreeing to share this experience. And I know it weren't something that were lengthy and lasted all evening and into the night, but when it was occurring, you found it highly unusual, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. I think what initially sort of drew our attention was that we got up in the camper van and we're parked parallel to the back fence. So for all intents and purposes, we're facing out onto the coast, but you can't actually see the coast because the land rises
Obviously,
up. At that
you've got these steep cliffs, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah, so it rises up, mate, then drops back down slightly to the coast. It was coming dusk time, and we were sat in the van and looking out up towards that peak. Our attention gets drawn to two animals, basically, the only way I can describe them. And as we've spoken in the past, the way I think I initially would describe them is that when the lads, the army lads that have been on the cliffs, and they described that being that they come across is that it looked like hyena. That's the features of these two creatures looked like a hyena in the sense of thick necks and small heads. So that's what sort of the unnaturalness of their movements and their appearance is what sort of struck us initially.
What distance were they at that time then from you and in the camper van?
It's going to be about 200 yards, mate. I did have a little look on Google Maps again to try to gauge the distance at the time. I was thinking, was it that sort of distance and the size and that? And it was about 200 yards away from the van. So a fair distance. They're not right close up to us or anything like that. So yeah, that 200 yards and that rise onto that peak of that field. And at the time, there was, whether it was barley or corn or whatever it was that was grown in the field, June time as well. So it was at a good height. There was two of them. One was sat off slightly to the right and appeared pretty stationary, but would duck down and rise up again. And then there was one that was like really active, and it seemed to be like running around the other one. And then in a sort of, I suppose, a play sort of fashion, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I say, initially, really strange appearance.
No, well, I know you've got good observational skills, and we'll come to that shortly. But what would you say to anybody, even from myself, but I know I asked this at the time, who might suggest that you were possibly looking at deer?
Yeah, people would say that, but from the movement and their appearance, no. Deer, sort of, we do a fair bit of walk and we're out and about quite a bit, so you do get used to that movement and how deer react. The movement of these, and in particular that one that was sort of moving around quite a lot, they weren't deer.
No.
I can pretty much say that with certainty, mate.
I knew that from when we first spoke initially, and we've spoke quite a lot of over the years that have passed about this. So I know that, but I just had to throw it out because people will be going, large animal, UK, deer. But as you get into this description and a little bit more about what happened, I think people will realise that there's no way you could mistake them for deer.
Yeah.
And did they stay in that same position all the time? Did you put binoculars on them?
Unfortunately, we haven't got we didn't have any binoculars on at the time, and it's that initial thing and what you and other people have spoken about it. For some reason, you don't seem to have the presence of mind straight away to like, let's record it, let's get video on this straight away. You're like, what is that? What is that? And we're watching it, and it's, without sounding daft, this one that's running around, it appears to become aware, and we get this bluff charge, and it's like, it's coming through the corn, but it's above the corn. And I'm not saying it's floating above the corn, but the size of it, it was like it was gliding through the corn. There was no movement of bounding or like it's pacing or anything. It's bounced up and down. It was just coming through the corn. And then when we sort of come to our senses and thought, right, let's try and video this. Let's get a video of this. They disappear. The two of them disappear. Yeah. So what was that? And it was that, as I say, the two military lads that have been up and said it was like a hyena. That is the only way, pretty much, you could describe it.
You could describe it.
They were big, mate. They were big. The one that was sat down, and it looked to be sat down, the one on the right that was pretty much stationary, when it was bobbing its head up and down, it was way above the corn.
So we assume then that the corn is 30-inch high. We'll probably do a bit of research on that. It's not going to be deep research, is it? But it's a 30-inch high. How far above the corn are they? And are they on all fours?
This one that was predominantly stationary looked like it was sat down, but then you could see the thickness of its neck above that corn and its head. So I can't say whether it was on all fours or whatever, but it just appeared, mate, from what we could see, that it was sat down. But they were big. They were big. And then you've got this one that's, initially 200 yards and then closes, and it was fast the way it was coming. And it wasn't gliding through the corn. It was pretty much above it. But as I say, you didn't get this natural movement of a bound or it's running or anything like that. It was just coming through. And yeah, they were sort of quite large animals, I'd say, mate, definitely.
Yeah, and I remember you saying that at time, and I don't mean that puzzled me, because with these strange animal reports, whatever term people want to use for them, you get these reports of people just saying it were effortlessly moving through the undergrowth, if it were undergrowth, or the corn. It moved like it were on an escalator. Lots and lots of things. And then you said that they just disappeared. What do you mean by that?
So you're looking down to get the phone and to get that up, and then they're gone. And it's like that split second. And whether it's an awareness from them or whatever it may be, they're gone. Yeah. And you think, that's not right, that. But then you question yourself, don't you, thinking, what is that? And it's the initial size of them, the movement and the way they're acting, that sort of through past experiences when I've been in work, and you look at something and you go, oh, right, that's not right, something's happening. And it was the same with that. And you look at it, you think, that's not right. And that's what draws your attention to it. And then you click on, all right, this is what's happening. But with that, you couldn't get, you like, no, it's still wrong. It's not making sense, this. So yeah, very strange, mate, very strange. Whatever they were, it was very odd.
You just summed it up with the words, it's not making sense, because, and it is, it's making perfect sense for the report of these strange animals. But I'm assuming that they're in the middle, or they're not on the edge of this field. So for them to go is unusual, because you're looking down for your phone, then they've gone. You'd at least see the back end of them running away. One of them was stationary.
So from the size of them, you would see some movement in that split second. You think, all right, they've darted off to the right or the left, or they've gone up to the back, or they're coming to the front of the field. But yeah, they're gone. And so a little bit later, and when we spoke in the past, I thought I'll have a little walk up, and I had my head torch on, and no qualms in saying it. I did. I thought, oh, this is probably not right to be out here. We don't know what they are. So I come back to the van and settle down tonight. And as I say, we've spoken in the past. I wish I'd gone up the next day, mate, and looked at the field.
So how far did you walk then, Gaz, after you'd decided to have not a late night walk, but what time would it have been?
It's then gone completely dark, mate. So probably about, I don't know, an hour or so afterwards.
Right, so probably we're only looking at what, in between 9 and 10?
Yeah, possibly, mate. Yeah, to be fair. As I say, I don't know the exact time, because it was a few years back now, but it's gone completely dark. So headed out to the campsite and took this path.
Did you get this far?
So we've got to the stile, climbed over, waited there for a little bit, and then, as I say, just decided I didn't think it was a...
Do you know what I mean? And these are things you think of after the fact, don't you? You're like, oh, we should have done that.
It's easy to say, isn't it? I've done exactly the same thing myself and thought, well, why didn't I go back? What stopped me doing that? And I don't think there's anything paranormal or happening there to make us not do it. I just think that's the nature of the human. Why didn't I take a photograph? Why didn't I look sooner? We do it, don't we? And you probably come across that yourself in nature or your previous job. But when you went back the next day, when you went in the evening with the head torch, do you think that the feelings of a little bit of unease were just there, or did you get a sense of an atmosphere?
I'd like to think, without sounding daft, I'd like to think I'm you're quite brave in the sense of things you've done in the past and that. So you think, right, so I can sort of rationalize things. So let's think about it. Come on, let's go up. And there is, and I would say about that whole area, mate, when we've been up in the past, there's a general uneasiness about it at certain times. And it was the same with that, whether it's me overthinking it because of what we see, and I can't, as I say, rationalize that. But yeah, definitely a little bit of a feeling of unease. So I headed up from the farm. There's a little path you can take down to the cliffs, isn't there, from the farm? And I've got to that point where the cliffs are, and I thought, no, I'm not really happy with this. So yeah, I headed back.
Yeah, I'm not sure now because we're going back to 2022. I know it's not that long since, but did we meet up during that short break, or was it afterwards when you had contacted me?
We come up after that, mate. So we met up after that. When we met you and Bob up on the cliffs there, and we walked along to Flamborough then after we met you. Yeah.
This is the location where you saw those strange animals in the field, and he's been kind enough to have a drive up here today, and we're just having a look. And
there's another report, and the guy was staying in a caravan with his mum at Flamborough, and he walked along the cliffs to Danes Dyke, where the ridge of Danes Dyke sort of faces the North Sea. And he claims that he saw something, the silhouette of something, just slowly lowered down. It's an narrow path on those cliff tops, and he'd gone past. When he turned round, it was behind him. And this guy was so frightened that he walked all the way to the RSPB centre, which is, I think then, from the ridge of Danes Dyke, you've got about a mile. So he walked a mile, then walked into Bempton village, and then walked back to Flamborough. So whatever he saw frightened him so much. But that's in a similar location, and that were 2022. Yeah. And we know that the military guys had their encounter, I think it was February the 7th, 2019. But we're only looking at half a mile away. Yeah. And what do you think that they were, Gaz?
I've no idea, mate. As you say, you don't know, do you? And I think this is part of the thing that if you could nail it down and say it's this specific thing, it would be dead easy, wouldn't it? And it's odd that every single person that sees them or experiences something, they describe them the same. So I think when there was the live stream last year, I think it might have been a bit before that, there was a lady come on in the comments afterwards, and she said about that they'd been further up towards the RSPB centre, and they'd seen two similar animals and described them the same, the thick necks and everything else, the smaller heads. And she described this bluff charge as well. So you think, well, there are similar accounts from people where you're getting, one or two of these animals. When there's two, there appears to be a bit of a bluff charge. So what do you think? Well, what's that for? It's just strange, isn't it?
Is that a territorial thing, do you think?
No, do you? And that's what, But then you think, well, why would they be territorial if they're not of this sort of, I don't know, of Bempton?
Realm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You think, well, why would they be doing that?
It makes perfect sense. But then if you look at the Native American Indians who talk about these things having the abilities to slip in and out of our existence, and we realize these things are really hard for people to get their heads around, and the only difference when this is their ability, but when they're in our realm, should we say, they've just got to obey by the laws of physics and have to eat and have to perform like they would wherever they're from. So perhaps there is a territorial aspect if there's two of them. It's hard to say. Did you get close enough to see eyes, or did it get close enough to... No,
we didn't see any eyes or anything like that.
So when it made its bluff charge, how close did it get? When it closed down from 200 yards to what?
It's probably closing down about 50 yards, 100 yards, mate, because you're seeing it coming through. But then when we've tried to get the phone, it's gone then. So you can't sort of gauge the exact distance. but it was moving fast. And as I say, there's none of this movement of it bounding or running. You know, when you see an animal run, don't you? You'll see the shoulder blades up and down, won't you? There was none of that with this. It was like it was just on rails sort of thing, of what people describe it's on an escalator or what have you.
What were you feeling when you saw it moving towards you? Was it excitement or a little bit of trepidation?
It is a little bit of trepidation, isn't it? Because like obviously parents, she's like, what's it doing? What's it doing here? You're thinking, hang on, is it going to stop? And you do, and you're thinking, it's a bit, this trepidation sets in, and you're thinking, I do hope it stops. And as I say, when we've gone down then to get the phone or to look for the phone, it disappears then. She's like, oh, it's all right, they've gone now. Very odd, very strange, mate.
There's another report from that area of a man staying at that very same spot called Patrick. He'll not mind me saying his name. I don't know what date this is going out, but he's actually in the area as I speak. I spoke to him on Friday, and he was walking along the edge from the camp to the cliff tops, and observed orange lights moving along the dike. Just getting dusk. It's not dark. It's just starting to get dark. And he observes spheres of orange light. And for some reason, he does the natural thing. He does what we all do, and it's got to be something man-made. It's people, but the unusual thing is they've got orange torches. And they're moving along the dike. There's two lights, and then all of a sudden, one of them goes into the air because he can. At the moment, he can see them in the darkness along the ridge of the dike, just below it. So, but one's in air, so it can't. Torches, they separate. But he took pictures, and he sent me those pictures. And saw this strange experience, and then had another experience when he went up there a few years later to tell me about it. In view of what he's experienced, in view of what the guy who was staying in the caravan with his mum claims that he saw, the silhouette of something hyena-like that lowered into the grass. He was stood up, he said, the military guys. And then you've been there in the camper van, not expecting to see anything really, just looking out onto a field of barley or corn, and these things are stood upright in the barley and corn. You never went expecting to see that, did you?
No, we didn't, mate. No, but no, you don't expect to see something like that. And I'm not saying it was like, oh my God, it's been life changing. It was unbelievable that, but it was certainly something very, very odd. You try to qualify like what you've cited, don't you? What you've seen, sorry, and you're like, what? So you start to look at different things, and then we get like obviously the accounts of the family were up there. That woman said there was two of them, and then I think I've seen another one where there's been two girls down there, and I think they've been staying on a campsite, and they've walked along and they've seen the same sort of thing where I think it was only one they described as, but it was sat up on the edge overlooking the sea and what have you. Do you think there's obviously definitely something, whatever it is? I don't know, but there's definitely something there.
There's definitely something there, Gaz. I mean, even if we want to simplify it, there's a report of a guy walking in the early hours. There must have been a lock-in at a pub or something in Flamborough, and he's walking back down to his home on I think they call it North Marine Road at Flamborough, and there's nobody about, and he's walking on the road. He's not drunk. He's keen to say that, but he observes the deep shadow of his own silhouette and the silhouette of a huge dog walking alongside of him. But there's no dog. There's no dog there. So I don't know how that works. You know, it's really strange. Did you ever see anything in your former job that were unusual?
No, mate. I have thought quite a lot about this, and obviously I worked for 22 years, so you see and you experience a lot of different things. And I have thought about it after. I'm thinking, no, not really. I can't say like, oh, that was dead odd, or do you know what I mean? There's nothing that I've ever experienced, and predominantly, well, I've worked a variety of different areas, so cities and then sort of towns and mixed with rural and what have you. But no, I can't say that I have seen something certainly like that. I've not, no, nothing like that, mate. No.
And is it something that you'd have openly spoke about if you were still working in the force?
There are certain people that you can chat to, like people I've worked with in the past, you know, good lads and girls, and you can say, "Bloody hell, have you seen this?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." But like openly, no. And that's why I think you'll get a lot of people will experience stuff, certainly from the job, and then they'll afterwards, if they've left or they've retired or whatever it may be, they will speak openly about it then. It's, I suppose it's not really the role, is it? You can start to say, "Hey, I think there's monsters up on the cliffs," and they'll be like, "Oh, you think what?"
I would agree, because it's not a judgment call, because you know what you've seen, but what we're talking about is so hard for people to get their heads around.
I think overall as well, we're still in a very close society, aren't we? Where people's belief systems and stuff, I think probably from a very young age, we're told to think in a certain way, aren't we? And anything beyond that is no, you don't recognise, you don't speak about it. But I think more so now people are speaking out about stuff, aren't they? You can't deny, can you, when you're seeing something, and how many people say in that particular area see something? There's definitely something going on then, isn't there?
Absolutely. And have you any plans to come back to area then anytime soon, guys?
Yes, mate. Yeah. We'll probably try I'll probably try and get up in the next week or two.
Maybe even walk down to the area and gather a little bit of film and just talk about it on ground zero, so to speak. That would be good.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to check. I completely forgot, but I was going to look at sort of the size of what particular, say, whether it was wheat or barley or corn, whatever it may be, at that time of year, what height it would be and stuff. And so probably if we do go up, mate, it'd be great to have a little stroll down. And if they're growing it again, it'd be even better, wouldn't it? Because we could then gauge it.
It's difficult because people talk about size of a dog and they'll go, we're up here. And when you actually measure height of a dog, they're not really that huge, are they? But for you to say that this thing, the crop was fully grown or thereabout, mature, and the one seated, you could see this huge thick neck and a thin head.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder. And I'm a firm belief that whatever it is they're seeing, it's got, to me, and I don't necessarily mean what you've just described, but what these other people are seeing as well. It's of a sort of unexplained, as in paranormal nature, because there's no way that some large, terrible looking animal could get away undetected up here, is there?
Okay then, guys, I really appreciate you sharing that with me and our listeners, and I look forward to meeting up with you when you come in a few weeks' time, and thank you.
Lovely. Cheers, Paul. See you soon, mate.
Oh, wow.
Saw it twice, so I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up, like a headlight, but there was nobody there.
Oh, it's just disappeared.